General Keane, thank you for being here. Is the war almost over? And how is this blockade, which I believe will be very effective, sir, really hurting his economy and finances and maybe even bringing the regime to starvation? But how does the blockade influence the end of the war?
Yes, in a very significant way. I don't think we can overstate how dramatic this impact is for the Iranians. I mean, I really thought we should have done this as soon as they took control of the strait, but we're here now, and that's what matters. We're carrying this out. And the reality is that, in fact, I believe we're probably on the verge of some kind of beginning of the end. And by that, I mean, when you look at the situation, we are keeping the deadline, and this will happen within a week. They know that we will come back and attack them militarily. That's the first point. Second point, the longer the blockade lasts, honestly, they do the math themselves. This forces a total economic collapse for them. They can't handle this, and they don't want to go back to military combat operations. Therefore, the terms of the discussion, I believe, with our negotiation team when they were in Pakistan last time, the blockade was not yet in place. They should completely change now. And by that, I mean we want everything. You give us everything. By the deadline, you make that commitment, and that means everything. As President Trump has said before, we make no concessions to these guys, none. And we don't throw them a lifeline. As we were discussing earlier, releasing frozen assets, the minimum amount I heard was $27 billion. It's probably more than that. Obama, remember, gave them about $100 billion. And we don't do sanctions relief. We don't offer you any economic lifeline. And further down the line, you'll have to prove to us that your behavior has changed. The only term we're going to grant them in the agreement now should be the only concession. And take that out of the vocabulary. Any thought about saving face for the Iranians? That shouldn't be on our minds. And it certainly shouldn't be in our actions here. The only thing we're saving them from is the relief we're offering. We're not asking you to sign a surrender document. And if we kept the blockade, believe me, we would get to that point and we wouldn't go any further. We would end up killing you. This is our concession. And this should be our entire concession, in my humble opinion. Yes, we're getting closer to that, Larry. Because of them, they just can't withstand the strong impact of the blockade. And they certainly don't want us to go back to fighting.
It would have been better if it had happened earlier, but it happened. It was a brilliant move by the president to reverse the mandate. In other words, you're describing an unconditional surrender. They have no position at all. They have no influence over anything. They do what we want them to do. And I would be happy if this blockade lasted for several weeks, General Keane. They can talk and chatter all they want. I don't even care. Let it continue, but basically keep the blockade. It will have an effect. They will run out of resources. And they won't be able to meet payroll for all those henchmen. And the RGC and so on and so on. Let me ask you something that came up. President Trump mentioned this in one of the interviews. The issue of handing over what he calls nuclear dust, the enriched uranium. We would like to see that. That was in one of our documents, I believe, last time in Pakistan. Is that possible? I mean, it seems to me that would be important. We know where it is. I think it's in Isfahan nuclear area. But what do you think about that?
That should be the first thing. Commit to opening the Strait of Hormuz, and you have no control, no bargaining power over that. And invite us to come in as soon as possible. Send whoever else you want to send with us there, but we're going there to take it, just like we did in Libya. That should be item one. I think we're almost there.
And then the last thing, sir, is how do we actually achieve regime change? How can we completely remove the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? I mean, maybe we're at the 4th level, but there are still a lot of bad guys, as you've already told me, with names and everything. Where is the regular army here? How do we get civil governance, see?
Well, if they suffered an economic collapse and had trouble paying the salaries of the hundreds of thousands of people who work for them, that would certainly start to fracture them. After all, if you want to change the political order and ensure that, the only way to do it is to physically take it away from them. And that means that's putting boots on the ground, and we've shown, and we have examples of doing exactly that. And obviously we know how to do that, but we made a commitment that this wouldn't happen because we thought for sure we could change their behavior without having to take that risk, make that decisive move, and accept that level of casualties. And I think we're on the right track for that. You know, we don't know for sure, but the pressure on that regime will be enormous. I mean, another thing that I think we should have done, but we didn't, is let the Kurds and the Azeris start taking a city or a village and see if that triggers a chain reaction. There's no harm in it. Even without success, it shows civilian opposition, armed people willing to risk everything. And yes, the fragility of the regime is vital for us, and that way we'll keep control over their behavior from now on. That absolutely makes up for everything we've done here.
Yes, just look.
For the sacrifice our troops made, this is an incredible, wonderful goal to achieve. And I give all the credit to the president for persisting in this and for putting this last card on the table, which gave us incredible momentum. I mean, he doubled down, that's what he did.
Yes.
Well, after they blocked the Strait of Hormuz, he came back and did it full force. And that, for sure, is changing everything.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir. Thank you, General Keane. As always, really. Thank you very much indeed. We'll talk soon.
Iraq and the CKL have formally blockaded Iran's ports and coasts. This action is legal. Ships must return to port immediately if they are departing and stop transit to Iran if that is their destination. Do not break the blockade. Ships going to or coming from Iranian ports will be boarded and seized. Prepare for boarding. If you break the blockade, we will use force. The entire United States Navy will enforce the law. Over.
All right. This is recent audio from CENTCOM. It's the warning that cybernetic Navy ships have been broadcasting via radio to commercial vessels, announcing the naval blockade of Iranian ports. CENTCOM states that 9 vessels complied with the return orders, while none crossed into the restricted area in the first 48 hours after the closure. American forces are using advanced military resources to enforce the blockade, including aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, and intelligence aircraft. Matt Finn is live in Dubai on the Persian Gulf. Matt?
Hello, Emily. We're on the 3rd day of the American blockade, and so far, there have been no reports of serious incidents in the Gulf behind me. Kepler states that 4 vessels are stopped in the Gulf of Oman because their cargo or connections to Iran are being questioned. The Iranian military is threatening to block maritime traffic. Persian Gulf, but also in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Oman, if the blockade of Iranian ports by Zua continues. Yesterday, a Chinese oil and chemical tanker passed through the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump posted today, "China is happy that I have permanently opened the Strait of Hormuz. I am doing this for them and for the world. This will not happen again. They will not send weapons to Iran. President Xi will give me a hug in a few weeks. We are working together intelligently. Isn't that better than fighting?" Saudi Arabia is pressuring Zua to lift the blockade. According to Reuters, a Pakistani delegation is in Iran for negotiations. Regarding the ceasefire that expires next week, Bloomberg says that the U.S. and Iran are considering extending it for 15 days, but Fox News has learned that Washington has not yet formally agreed. The dialogue between the countries continues for an agreement. Now, the United Arab Emirates said they are strengthening their relationship with Mr. Awa and may join them if there is use of force in the Gulf. Back to you.
Matt Finn, thank you and take care.